Alright, into this video we're covering what I like to call the Stoplight Diet. I think I covered this in a previous video, but here it is again in case you missed it. The Stoplight Diet puts food into 3 different categories. Now, these categories are your own relationship to these foods. Okay, so one person's red light food will be different than yours. So only you are going to know which foods these are. Green light foods are foods that you want to have in good quantity in your diet. They're healthy. You're saying, I want to eat a good amount of these sorts of things, and you enjoy these foods. So these are foods that you keep readily available in the environments that you spend most of your time, at home, in the kitchen, or at work. Okay, and as more readily available, the better. So if you have fruit basket on the counter, ready right there. That's a good example. You know, like if grilled chicken is a green light food for you, have it already set, made up, ready to go, and you just slap it on a sandwich or whatever, and off you go. So you're basically making it very easy to consume these sorts of foods. Yellow light foods are the foods that you want to have in smaller doses. You want to eat at a smaller frequency in your diet, but you don't have too much trouble doing so. So for me, that's cookies. Like Oreo cookies. We could have a package of Oreos and I wouldn't touch it for days on end. But once in a while, it's a good thing. I'll enjoy an Oreo, you know. So you take those and you have them in small quantities in your environment, and usually out of sight, out of mind. So you put them in like the cupboard or in the freezer or something like that. So that way, when you do want it, you can easily get it, but it's not like this huge amount of temptation that's there. Red light foods are the foods that you want to eat sparingly in your diet, but you have a lot of trouble doing so. So for me, that's Twizzlers. You have one of those pounder bag of Twizzlers and you open it up, I'll have the whole thing gone within 2 days. It's just my thing. I just am honest with it. I will eat the whole thing. So those kinds of foods, you don't get rid of them out of your diet. Hell, you don't want to stop eating the foods you love. I don't want to ever stop eating Twizzlers. But you make it so it's not so easy to eat them all the time. So if I want Twizzlers, I've got to go out of my environment and I've got to spend additional money and time to get like a small package of Twizzlers in order to enjoy it. So it's not there and present all of the time. The ultimate goal with healthy eating is to eradicate all red light foods, not necessarily saying those foods come out of your diet, but those foods eventually become yellow light foods. So there's not a whole lot of foods that I lose control over these days. Used to be a lot of foods back in the day. But you can have almost anything in the household and I'll eat it just once in a while when I feel like it. Beer, ice cream, even Twizzlers to a certain degree. I'll just have it here and there. And that's a good thing. But basically keeping the food in its relation with your environment is one of the best ways to stay in control of what frequency you're consuming various foods. Because if, like, I like to eat a lot of fruit and I really enjoy it, so keeping a good amount of fruit makes it really easy, and I keep a lot of fruit in my diet. It's really easy for me to stay this way. But if you have foods that you're trying to avoid and you have them a lot in your environment, it's gonna be really hard, because every time you open up that freezer, if you're trying to, like, say, limit ice cream intake and you have 2 half-gallons of ice cream, every single time you walk by that freezer, you've got to expend energy and self-control to keep yourself from eating it. And that energy is not energy you've got in massive quantities. You have a limited amount of it, and it's eventually going to drain you down. It just costs you more lifestyle resources to avoid doing something you don't really want to do. So the Stoplight Diet makes it easier to eat well, and you still get to have everything that you want. It's great. It's very simple, and it doesn't cost you anything. There's no special foods you have to eat. The last thing I will say, though, is it's a lot more important that you prepare your own foods. You go grocery shopping and stuff, because if ice cream is a red light food for you, then the only time you got to avoid eating or buying a lot of ice cream is once at the grocery store, like once a week. But if you go out to eat a whole lot and you're doing that sort of thing, if you're going to places that serve a lot of ice cream, you gotta kind of keep it at bay, and you gotta expend all that energy multiple times. So making your own food and keeping these sorts of things in mind in your environment is the key to the Stoplight Diet. Let me know if you have any thoughts down below. Till then, be fit, live free.